name is Stella DeAngulo. I come from Bolivia. I work for MAP International as community health specialist, and I also help with the coordination with my husband, Stella DeAngulo, the coordination of the programs in MAP Bolivia. We have several programs, 9 of them, and we have been working there for the last 23 years almost. So I want to share what I think transformational development happens the best when organizations, institutions, professionals understand what incarnation means. I think the best approach for community development, for transformation, is just to follow Jesus' example as he came down to incarnate in a specific culture, in a specific period of time, to know the people, to learn about the people, to suffer with them. And it's not just Jesus. God also has taken that international approach and is sharing with us in order that we can be more successful in the work that we are doing. I remember, for instance, Exodus 3:7, which summarizes many passages in the Bible that talk about this incarnational model. And I want you to pay attention to the verse, this verse present. And Jehovah said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people that are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmakers, for I know their sorrows, and I come down to deliver them. So it's not just a quick overview of a situation, but a really commitment of understanding, of seeing, of hearing, and to be willing to step down to be with the people. So I will discuss 5 basic principles of this incarnational model. A, should be based in the community's worldview. B, should be focused on people. C, comprehensive development. Should have a comprehensive development. D, should have constant self-directed transformation. E, should be based on human rights. As I presented these 5 basic principles, I am trying to communicate like this incarnational model that Jesus is giving us in a social and academic language. We need to be strategic in how we work in order that we can achieve what we are trying to achieve. So let's see the first one. Transformational processes should be based on the community's worldview rather than in outsiders' worldview. We have so great ideas. We can see because we have experienced very comfortable lives and opportunities, and we can see very clear how my approach, my ideas could benefit those impoverished communities. But it doesn't work in transformational development. When I come with my agenda, I cannot get what I'm looking for. So I have to be very sensible to the locus of the people. Understand the locus of the mission determines how that mission will be carried. And that takes time. Understanding where reality really is in order to address development in the right place. Sustainable changes in culture should come from within, from the people. So that implies to be willing to step down, to be with the people, where the people is, to understand their needs, to see how they have been coping with the adversities and problems that they have lived for generations, and what resources they have to start with. These are the kind of communities Bolivia works with in South America and Bolivia and other countries, but our staff are committed to use their public transportation, to be with the people, to sit in their environments. And by doing this, we engage with their own way of living that creates in us compassion. And not that compassion that I feel pity for them. That the world has components to have passion about it. That passion that takes you to come back to these places, to get engaged with getting alternatives to get out of those conditions. So if we don't have that, our programs, our activities will be for a period of time. But when we talk about sustainability, we have to be engaged in this level with the people. If you have come here to help me, then you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with me, then let us work together. And for us, has been a big challenge to change our way of referring to the participants in our programs. We don't call them our beneficiaries because that put me in a position that I am the one who can give something instead of being with them. Or we don't call them the poor, we call them the impoverished because we recognize that the context, the complexity of the societies have create conditions for them to be poor, but that is not a permanent situation they should be. So we call them the impoverished, dreaming that they will overcome that situation. We don't tell them we come here to help you, we come here to work with you. So, like changing their way of thinking is not just transforming them, but they transform us in the way we see this complex situation we are trying to avoid. Let's see the second principle. Developing fundamentally about people. For example, human processes, self-empowerment, and not about projects or material things. Technology to improve production, or projects, or infrastructure, or gardens. It's about people. How we can facilitate the construction, the self-empowerment. We don't empower people because the only one that can give us power is God. But we can facilitate that people recognize that inward capacity they have, because all of us have been created by God with His image and likeness, and we believe that if people have the opportunity to think about it, they will discover that strength they have within them, and our role is just to facilitate those processes. Sustainable changes on other things will naturally come when people experience transformation, and especially when those outsiders with well-intentioned hearts come, but they have to go. So the idea is that as they withdraw from the community, the process of transformation continues because the same people of the community have developed skills, knowledge, and attitudes to bring for their transformation. So in order to achieve that, we need to think in two aspects. First, personal self-empowerment process. People should have opportunity to get engaged not in these traditional educational activities of recipients of information, but to construct knowledge, have opportunity to discuss, to think about it, to develop their own dreams, to learn, how to think, how to evaluate environment, how to be critical about what is going on, and to create ways of getting out of that situation. Any environment, any place could be a good opportunity for people to discuss about their problems, their difficulties, their limitations. It also implies a collective self-empowerment process, conformation, inclusive and democratic organization. It's not just one people that get this power and information to do something. It doesn't work if we don't join together with others in the community. So it's just to encourage communities to conform this democratic organization in which everybody can participate, can have their voice, and assume responsibility for their own processes. This can happen at any level. If we are careful to use the right educational methodologies, strategies, we have many good resources with people that have worked in adult education and problem-based learning, analysis, use of codes, of graphics to reflect about, so people can engage in this learning process. We have opportunity to provide this transformational training for more than 1,200 community villagers, people that have very little education and very little self-esteem. But through this method, we have seen how they stand and start to believe we can make it. We are the people we were waiting for, like Gandhi said. Those ladies that you see in these pictures came from very remote areas where the only role they had was to take care of the sheep in the family. And when they came to the program, they were very ashamed. They didn't look at their eyes. These ladies, as among many others in the program, learned how to do very practical things like stitches, like blood pressure, taking the blood pressure, or identifying pregnant women, and how to provide the nutritional program, the hydration salts for dehydrated children, and many other activities. But it started with a very little intervention on what they were, where they were. Let's see the third basic principle. Development should focus on comprehensiveness and the process generated in the interaction of the different factors. Well, I have this, what you see here in the middle represents the community. And each one of the points here is one of the actors or variables in that community. We have churches, the health centers, we have the authorities of the communities, the transportation, so many factors that are continually interacting. But also this community is surrounded by Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, outside agents or variables that has to be in consideration. And those churches, Ministry of Justice, etc., that in some way are interacting with that community, but at the same time, each one of these variables have their own inward interactions. So you can see here a simple picture that shows you the complexity of the problem. When we come with one specific project to say we come to transform this community, we are really away of reality because the problems are very complex. So we need to first gain consciousness about this complexity in order to be able to be more effective in what we're doing. We faced this in our 23 years in Bolivia. We practically learned that try to do something here, but next year the situation was repeated, and that forces us to look for better ways. And we use in our approach of this complexity what we call focus on the health determinants. How complexity can be managed by communities pursuing transformational development. And we have this total health and well-being of society. In order to achieve this, we need to facilitate people to gain control of the health determinants. And we're talking about three groups. First group of health determinants are related with the personal health determinants. If people can gain control on their own physical nourishment, their psychoaffective nourishment, the affective is very important, and the cognitive nourishment. So you have a program of children at a school, and you work on that. The children develop the importance of developing their cognitive skills, and you have to be creative in the educational instruments or resources that you put on the hands of the children so they don't become zombies, but active agents of their own learning. And also to facilitate people to gain control over the social communitarian health determinants. We're talking about integration and creation of organizations that include special, pay attention especially to gender issues. We recognize if women don't take part in these processes, the processes are not sustainable. And also an special emphasis Bolivia and MAP International is making now is the importance of providing protection for children and to include children in all these processes. The political participation and economical participation and the production and its benefits. And also to gain control over environment, the health of the environment. In order to do that, people need to have information. People need to gain skills, abilities, and opportunities to implement those. A third group of health determinants that we are using is capability to cope with adversity and restore health damage. And here we are talking about all the range of problems, the most common problems that are happening in communities. People themselves can manage these problems. You know, people in the communities are dying because of problems with diarrhea, respiratory problems, skin diseases. All these problems are just manifestation of big, unjust economical situations. But if people start to gain control and awareness and skills and they start to get organized, they can not only control those problems, but improve the conditions of the communities. And if governments and organizations and institutions and professionals understand that and join those efforts, we believe transformation and development can occur. And all this control over health determinants should be emphasized since the first years of life. The next fourth principle of incarnation is transformation of the world requires a constant self-directed transformation of the way local democratic organizations think and act. The system self-agency learning and transformation spiral. It's just this organization that discovered that the strength they have is when they join together and start to move. And we represent this with a spiral. When a certain group of people start to analyze the situation they are living, why we are having so much diseases in the community, why we don't have public transportation, and decides to have a more holistic view and literalize to analyze the situation instead of being like guinea pigs crawling in the ground. Let's see what we can do. Understand their needs, their problems, their potentialities, and constructing initial realities, make plans, and try to coordinate, try to implement those plans to see how they work, have an initial preparation, engaging others on the reality in the analysis, have more reflection on the situation, more ideas, implement that, exploring different course of actions. And this only can happen when we involve all the members of the communities, not just the idea of one people that have great ideas or less an outsider that have great ideas. Only with the people can have the opportunity to have this process of think, maybe commit mistakes, but try again and do it this way and share with all. They start to get excited about bringing process of transformation in their community and take higher risks and see, yes, it works, we can do it. Exploring this more effective and complex worldview, attending course of actions. making more comprehensive plans and assuming responsibilities, and so on. The fifth basic principle is that should be based on a culture of respect and exercise of human rights. And we say that human rights is a common world consensus agreement on what humans are, the basic rights to be a human, and that they are inherited by all. And all the programs should be focused on that. Important thing here is to know that as we respect the human rights of all, we can construct a healthy society. And if we can see as Christians the similitude and the big relevance of human rights for a social and academic world with what Jesus presented, we are talking about the same language. Health for all, justice, economic participation, no discrimination, the dignity of the people. So human rights is a language that is allowing us to advance in very delicate arenas. For example, I can talk about how we have been able to achieve great results for the protection of victims of sexual abuse. Just not asking for mercy for what has happened with them, but approaching governments under the right. They have the right to be protected. And under that flag, we have been able to introduce new laws and changes in the Constitution in order to reach more protection and to stop this violence against children and adolescents. There is no truth more sacred than the one the world holds with children. There is no duty more important than ensuring that their rights are respected, that their welfare is protected, that their lives are free from fear and want, and that they grow up in peace. And especially we have this emphasis on the protection of children. I think that we will construct a society not only safe for children, but safe for the rest of humanity. If I be careful to build a bridge that is safe for children, it will be safe for the rest of the society. If I am safe, I am concerned about having healthy food for children, the food will be healthy for all. So it's a big call to protect the source of life, and especially the children that are a message of God, that has a lot of information for us. If anybody wants to know more about me, learn with these children. And it's a big challenge that we have today. And the next question I was supposed to come with was, and what is our role as outsiders, as organizations that have this heavy burden with what is going on in the world. And I come back to the incarnational model of Jesus, to try it, to be humble, to step down, to listen from the people, and that implies time, that implies commitment, even willingness to pay high price. Sometimes I experience visitors in Bolivia from several universities, and they struggle a lot because they don't have internet, because they don't have hot water, or because they don't have their law, and things like that. And that's true. We need to be aware that in order to step down, we need to pay a price. In order to be there, to listen. It's easier to just come and say, here I have this for you, I have lots of money, but we have to be careful, because many times by doing that we are aborting local capacities that could take these communities out of their misery. The first time when we came to Bolivia, I have a group of 20 women in our house. They knew MAP International was initiating the work in Bolivia, and the first question they say, what are you going to give us? That was the question, and I said, I don't have anything to give us, I just want to learn from you. Would you accept me in your group? many of them left, but many women start to join, and I try to work with them, we try to work with them, and today I have many stories that I can share with you about what is going on in Bolivia. I'm so proud of the women that have stand for their rights. We have a team of almost 70 people, and all the coordinators are women that were kicked out from other organizations because they didn't know how to do things. Now I am so proud because they have great ideas and they've taken the organization to very high levels. But I believe that it's just to provide those opportunities, and if we can be open for that direction of God, I think we have a lot to do and a lot to share. But let's first hear from them and walk with them. Well, thank you. Providing opportunities for the people to stand for their rights, so they gain awareness of their potentialities, gain awareness of God's image and likeness, about their rights, dreams, and plans to transform their reality. People are in a culture of silence, and it's very hard for them to speak out. But it's just with this educational process that we allow them to start to gain confidence and to speak out. And I want to present you also a model that we use is the change process that takes several stages presented by Prochaska and Declaiming. And if we are aware of this, we can be more successful in our attempts. We are talking about a contemplation stage when people don't consider that they need to change. Those women that you see in the houses, they have accommodate to live in those environments, to see their children die, to hold hunger. Sometimes they just chew coca leaves, and with that they can pass the day. So they are in a state they don't need to change. And it's just by providing tools that they can start to recognize maybe we can dream for a better life, and start to contemplate possibilities to overcome, to get out of that situation. In order to do that, you need to be careful on what elements or strategies or opportunities for people to discover themselves. It's not you telling them, it's them discovering. To let them to go to the next stage, the preparation stage, where they get the tools. Even they can start with simple things. What about we start putting some gardens around the house and planting some seeds? If the initiatives come from the people, it's a high probability that initiatives come from outsiders, they won't last. Then comes the stage of action, which is the implementation of the plan. But the importance is the maintenance of that change, and that takes time. Like a family that wants to implement an organic garden or some animals husbandry can go through all this process, and at the end maybe had some difficulties and the plantation broke, didn't succeed. That's the role of us being around to say, don't get discouraged, let's do it again, let's try it again. Until they have this level of power to say, I know how to do it, I will continue, and I get passion to do that. Being careful of those relapsing activities. Sometimes people get discouraged very easy, especially when they are left alone by themselves in their own misery, only with this big burden of, you have to do this, you need to do that, you have to wash your children's hands, or you have to boil the water, and this and that. So many things that they have to do. They get easily discouraged. Ultimately, join efforts with the rest of the community members to achieve those dreams. Those who live with the issue are the ones who should develop the local capacity, the local expertise to deal with those issues. This needs to be done from within, from the worldview of the people who face those issues. Join efforts with other organizations and constitute network of advocacy of the transformational structures, politics, laws, and guarantee the well-being of all. There are some things that people in the community should be assuming themselves, but there are other issues like roles or decisions at the political level that is very important, as my previous speaker said, to join efforts with other organizations and to advocate for the organizations to invest money in those local infrastructures. But when we have these joint efforts with the community, with the local organizations, with the outsiders, with all these factors in society, we can advance in our efforts of transformation of the